What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be going over my breakdowns and predictions for UFC Fight Night Cannonier versus Rodriguez. There's some pretty good fights on here. I'm excited for this one. Let's get straight into the first fight. Julia Avila versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I'm going to go with Cavalcanti via a 29-28 unanimous decision. This is going to be a lock of the card. And by the way, as you can see the lock emoji right there, I'm going to start keeping track of my lock picks and my underdog picks. So if you see a lock, that means they're a lock 70% or higher. And if you see a dog emoji, then that means that they're an underdog, and I'm picking them as an underdog. And I think I'm gonna start what's the word? I'm gonna start keeping track of those now because why not? Cool, I guess. But yeah, I'm going Jacqueline Cavalcanti as a lock. She's like a minus 700 favorite in this fight, and yeah, I understand it. Julia Avila has not looked that amazing in her recent performances. She got submitted by Misha Tate in her last fight back in 2023. Getting submitted by Misha Tate in 2023 is kind of crazy. So yeah, Cavalcanti should win this one pretty comfortably. She's got a pretty long frame for the division. She's 5'8" with a 70-inch reach, I believe, and she's pretty young. So yeah, I mean, I think she's gonna have all the advantages here. So I'm going Jacqueline Cavalcanti via a decision. Could maybe see like a submission or something, maybe a KO, but I think the safe bet is decision. So yeah, let's move on to the next fight. Walter Walker versus Don'Tale Mayes. I'm gonna go with Johnny Walker's brother by decision as an underdog, literally just due to not being as obese. You can see in the pictures there, Don'Tale Mayes is clearly the more obese guy, and I think Walter Walker is gonna win by not being obese. Don'Tale Mayes, he just has not looked impressive at all in his performances. Lost to Shamil Gaziev in his last fight. No shame in that. Shamil Gaziev's the goat. Before that, he beat Caio Machado, the fucking son of Ian Gary and Kyle Baralho. And then before that, lost to Rodrigo Nascimento. So, I don't know. He hasn't looked too impressive in his performances. Neither has Walter Walker. He lost to Lucas Brzeski, which is a bad look. But he beat Junior Tafa by round one sub. So, that's like something to take away, I guess. But, I don't know. Walter Walker, I think he's going to win due to just not being fat. Not very confident in this one. This is just one of those where it's just two fat heavyweights and you don't know. But Don'Tale Mayes is a fucking BMI maxer, so I'm gonna go Walter Walker. Let's move on to the next fight. Vince Morales versus Elijah Smith. I'm gonna go with Elijah Smith via a first round TKO. I don't know. I'm not too confident in this pick. Vince Morales is a pretty tough dude. He's been in there with some tough guys, but I don't know. Something tells me Elijah Smith is gonna be able to put him away. He seems dangerous. He seems good. He looked good on the Contender Series. And Elijah Smith, he's 3-6 in the UFC, 3-7 if you count the Contender Series. So atrocious record at the highest level. He has lost to some pretty good guys, to be fair. Taylor Lapilus, Jonathan Martinez, Song Yadong. He also has some other questionable losses like Benito Lopez, Miles Johns, and some random dude on the Contender Series. But yeah, I don't know. Vince Morales, he's just kind of mid. So I think Elijah Smith, even if he doesn't get the TKO, I am pretty confident he gets the win by decision. But yeah, you know what? Why not throw in a little extra there and say he gets it done by TKO? So yeah, let's move on to the next fight. Gabriel Bonfim versus Chaos Williams. I'm gonna go with the underdog here. Chaos Williams via a first round TKO as an underdog. This is a pretty good underdog pick. I'm not gonna lie. Gabriel Bonfim has just not looked impressive to me. Like, who has this guy really beat? Like Ange Lusa, Trevin Giles, Mooner Lazez, Trey Waters. Like, these aren't high level opponents at all. The best person that Gabriel Bonfim has fought is Nicholas Dalby, and Nicholas Dalby finished him. So, I don't know, man. Chaos Williams, he's super dangerous. He's got a long reach. I think he's going to be able to catch Gabriel Bonfim at some point and put him away. Gabriel Bonfim, I don't know, man. I just think he's being overhyped. He just doesn't seem that good. This is a pretty good underdog pick for me, and I think Chaos Williams gets it done. Chaos Williams, he also hasn't fought like the highest level of competition, but he's definitely fought better guys. Like Carlston Harris, a win over Carlston Harris is better than any of Bonfim's wins. Um, a win over Abdul Razak Al Hassan is better than any of Bonfim's wins. I would even argue maybe a win over Alex Morono is better than any of Bonfim's wins. Maybe, I don't know. These also aren't very high level guys, but I don't know. He's fighting better guys, and like he only has two losses in the UFC. Those being to Michelle Pereira and Randy Brown, which are way higher level opponents than anybody that Bonfim has fought. So I don't know, man. Chaos Williams, he's really dangerous. He's got KO power. And I just think he's going to get the win here. I think he's going to KO Gabriel Bonfim in the first round. Let's move on to the next fight. Rafael Estevam versus Jesus Aguilar. I'm going to go with Rafael Estevam to get this one done by decision. It does worry me a little bit because Estevam is undefeated. And if you've been following the UFC, you'll know that this year has not been a great year for the undefeated fighters. A lot of them have been losing. So, maybe there's a bit of a curse. But I don't know, man. I just think Estevam is a lot higher level than Jesus Aguilar. Estevam has a win over Charles Johnson, which sticks out like a sore thumb in these type of matchups. Both guys don't really have much experience. Only have a couple of fights each, but Estevam having a win over Charles Johnson tells you a lot. That means he's obviously pretty good because Charles Johnson's a very good opponent. Charles Johnson beat Joshua Van by finish, so yeah, Charles Johnson's good, and Estevam having a win over him is very impressive. And Aguilar, he doesn't have any of those impressive wins. Stuart Nickel, Mateus Mendonca, Shannon Ross, He lost to Tatsuro Taira, but like Tatsuro Taira is very good, so I'm not really gonna take that away from him. But like he also hasn't beat anybody like good. He has no good wins, but his only loss is to an elite top five flyweight. So I don't know. No idea where Jesus Aguilar actually could be, but I don't know. Estevam just has a better win than Charles Johnson, so I think he must be pretty good. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Rafael Estevam to get this one done by a decision. Let's move on to the next fight. Angela Hill versus Ketlin Souza. I'm going to go with the underdog, Ketlin Souza, to get a 29-28 unanimous decision win. Angela Hill, I don't know, she's 40 and she's 12-14 in the UFC. Sometimes these unks put on a fucking y'all must have forgot type of performance, but I don't think this is going to be one of those times. And Ketlin Souza has looked pretty good recently. She beat Mardik Man by decision and then submitted Yasmin Uregui in round one, that's pretty impressive. So got to give her credit for that. And Angela Hill, man, I don't know, she can't get any momentum going. Like, she'll win a fight, win another fight, then lose, then lose, then win, then lose, then lose, then win, then win, then lose, then win, then lose. She just can't get any momentum going. And I don't know, she lost to Tabitha Ritchie in her last fight. She looked alright in that fight, didn't look terrible. But I don't know, man. Ketlin Souza, she's young, way younger. And I don't know, I just think she's gonna win. I just think she's gonna win via not being 40 and not having a losing record in the UFC. So yeah, let's move on to the next fight. Jose Delgado versus Connor Matthews. I'm going to go with Jose Delgado via a second round TKO. I think he's going to frustrate Connor Matthews on the feet. I just think he's better everywhere in the striking. And yeah, I just think he's going to frustrate Matthews and find the finish. Matthews has not looked great so far. Lost on the Contender Series to Francis Marshall, then beat Yair Farias on the Contender Series, and then got KO'd in his UFC debut by Denis Bezishka. So hasn't looked great so far. Whereas Jose Delgado, he got a pretty nice KO on the Contender Series. So I feel like I can trust him more. He's got power. He's able to put people away, and I think he puts Connor Matthews away by TKO in the second round. So yeah, Jose Delgado via second round TKO. That's my pick. Let's move on to the next fight. Rodolfo Vieira versus Andre Petroski. I'm going to go with Rodolfo Vieira via a second round submission. Petroski's going to be too willing to go to the ground. He's going to try and shoot takedowns, and it's going to get him submitted. I'm calling it right now. You do not want to go to the ground with Rodolfo Vieira. This guy is a nasty, nasty submission artist. All of his wins in the UFC have been by submission. He only has two losses to Chris Curtis and Anthony Hernandez, but no shame in those. Chris Curtis is good, and Anthony Hernandez is a future top 10 fighter, maybe even top 5. Anthony Hernandez is fucking good. But yeah, man, other than that, I mean, Vieira, round 1 submission over Armin Petrosian, round 2 submission over Cody Brundage, round 3 submission over Dustin Stoltzfus. This guy's pretty good, man. He's very dangerous on the ground. You do not want to go to the ground with Rodolfo Vieira. This guy is a submission specialist. And Andre Petroski, his game is like grappling. Like, that's his thing. He grapples a lot. And I don't know, man. I don't know if he wants to go to the ground in this fight with Rodolfo Vieira. And on the feet, like, Vieira's not a bad striker either. So I don't know, man. I just don't see a way to win for Andre Petroski. I just think Vieira is going to beat him everywhere, and I think he finds a submission in round 2. Petroski, I don't know, he just hasn't beaten anybody good. He beat Dylan Budka in his last fight, but Dylan Budka's mid. Beat Josh Frem, same thing. His best win is probably the split decision over Gerald Mearshart, which a split decision over Gerald Mearshart, like, I think Vieira would submit Gerald Mearshart, so yeah. And also he's lost to guys like Jacob Malkoun and Michel Pereira, which are much lower level competition than the guys that Rodolfo Vieira has lost to, so I don't know, man. I'm going to go with Rodolfo Vieira via a second round submission. Let's move on to the next fight. Ismail Bonfim versus Nazim Sadikov. I'm going to go with Nazim Sadikov via submission in the third round as an underdog. I think this is a pretty good underdog pick. I don't know. Maybe I'm just hating on the Bonfim brothers. I don't know. Like, I don't really have anything against them. I just don't think they're that good. I think they're all right. They're not amazing or nothing. Like, again, same thing with his brother Gabriel. Who has Ismail beat? He beat Vince Pichel by decision in his last fight. Cool. Vince Pichel's all right. Lost to Benoit Saint Denis by first round submission before that. Before that, beat Terrence McKinney by second round KO. Like, Terrence McKinney, he's been chinned so many times. I don't find that impressive. And then before that, beat a random Narman Abasov. So, I don't know, man. Ismail Bonfim, he just hasn't really fought anybody. And Sadikov looks good, man. Sadikov looks really good. He also has a win over Terrence McKinney, but he submitted him. Has a win over Evan Elder by KO. Has a win over Ahmed Hazan Sada by KO. And in his last fight, he went to a draw with Vyacheslav Borshev. He's 9-1. Um, and I don't know, man. Ismail Bonfim, I just don't rate the Bonfim brothers very highly. I just don't think they're that good. So I'm gonna go Nazim Sadikov via third round submission. It's probably gonna be a back and forth fun fight. And yeah, I'm picking Nazim Sadikov via a third round submission. Let's move on to the next fight. Edmund Shabazian versus Dylan Budka. I'm going to go with Edmund Shabazian via a first round TKO. Dylan Budka is not UFC level. This is a lock for me, I'm not going to lie. Dylan Budka's mid. Like, even worse than mid. He's terrible. He's a wrestler with a wrestling background, but his wrestling doesn't even look good in the UFC. Like, in his last fight, he got taken down and out-grappled and out-controlled by Andre Petrosky. And then before that, got KO'd by Cesar Almeida. Landed one strike in that fight. One significant strike was landed in that fight by Dylan Budka. I mean, fair play. Took Almeida down a few times. Had some control, but dude, one strike. Like, this guy's striking is terrible. He's just, his wrestling doesn't look that dominant. Edmund Shabazian's really good. Not really good, but like, he's underrated. I'm not gonna lie. I know a lot of people see that, he's on a bit of a skid. He's lost 5 out of his last 7 fights, only 2 wins in his last 7. But like, look at the people that he's losing to: Derek Brunson, Jack Hermanson, Nasruddin Mavov, Anthony Hernandez, Gerald Mearshart, who he was beating convincingly before the arm triangle. And like, dude, like Edmund Shabazian, he's only losing to like really good guys. He has wins over guys like Brad Tavares, Jack Marshman, AJ Dobson. Like, I don't know, this guy's good. Like, he's not amazing, but like, he's solid. Like, he's only losing to like a really high level guys. Like Nasruddin Mavov, top 5 fighter, #1 contender actually at middleweight now. Anthony Hernandez, arguably top 5 level. Gerald Mearshart, super dangerous grappler. Jack Hermanson, arguably could be in the rankings. Derek Brunson, back in 2020, Derek Brunson was good. So yeah, he's only losing to good guys, and Dylan Budka is nowhere near any of those guys' level. And I don't even think he should be in the UFC. He's not good enough, and I think Edmund Shabazian is going to sleep him. So yeah, Edmund Shabazian, round 1 TKO. Let's move on to the next fight. Calvin Kattar versus Yusuf Zalal. I'm going with Yusuf Zalal via a 30-27 unanimous decision. We got to accept it, man. Calvin Kattar's not in his prime anymore. He has not looked good in his recent performances. His last fight, he got taken down, dominated by Aljamain Sterling. Couldn't even get anything going on the feet. Before that, he got injured in the Arnold Allen fight. And then before that, the whole Josh Emmett thing. It says loss. I don't care. Anybody who's watched that fight will tell you that Calvin Kattar won. That was a robbery. Josh Emmett should not have won that. That was a clear Calvin Kattar win. Before that, Big Giga Chikadze in a 5-round fight. Chikadze's cardio is not good. And then before that, got beat down brutally by Max Holloway. So, yeah, man, Calvin Kattar, on paper, has lost 4 of his last 5 fights. In reality, he won against Josh Emmett. So, 3 out of his last 5 fights have been losses. And I don't know, man, like the surgeries that he's had, his ligaments are definitely cooked. And I don't know, man, Calvin Kattar, he just doesn't seem like he has the fighting spirit anymore. And Yusuf Zalal, he is destined to make that comeback. And he's been doing pretty good. He was once, he once got cut from the UFC. He was on a 3-fight losing streak, then had a draw with Damon Blackshear where they cut him. And then he's now back in the UFC on a 3-fight win streak, all by finish. So, yeah, great stuff from Yusuf Zalal. He wants to keep that streak going. He's going to be way more motivated than Kattar. Zalal's the pick here. I'm going with Yusuf Zalal, 30-27 decision. Let's move on to the main event. Jared Cannonier versus Gregory Rodriguez. I'm going with Gregory Rodriguez via a second-round TKO. He's very powerful, very wild. He is hittable and open, which does kind of concern me because I could definitely see a world where Jared Cannonier, lands something big and puts him out. Because Gregory Rodriguez does have a bit of a chin issue. He has been KO'd a couple times before, but Jared Cannonier's chin is arguably worse at this point. Like, Nasruddin Mavov finished him. I know it was a bit of an early stoppage, but like that fight was going to get stopped either way. Like, Mavov was on his way to cleanly putting him out. And after that, against Caio Borralho, Borralho beat the shit out of this guy. He fucking just dropped him bad in the 5th round, had him, hurt, pretty much had him out of there. I don't know how the ref didn't stop that. It looked like Cannonier was out fully. He just kind of fell over and was done. But yeah, man, Jared Cannonier, I just think at this point, he's too hittable. His chin's cooked, and I think Gregory Rodriguez, he's very big for the weight class. He's like 6'3". So I don't know, man. I think he can put him away. I think he puts Cannonier away. He's very big for the weight class. He's very powerful, and I think he can mix in some takedowns too. Jared Cannonier, not the greatest defensive grappler, not like a terrible defensive wrestler, but he's not amazing at it. And Gregory Rodriguez has really good takedowns, and he's very dangerous on the ground. Lots of submission ability. And in his last fight against Christian Leroy Duncan, he showed that. Took him down a bunch of times, controlled him. And I think he can do something similar to Jared Cannonier, kind of put the thought in his head that, oh, this guy can take me down. I got to be worried about that. leave him more open, and then Rodriguez comes in with something wild, catches Cannonier, puts him down, and then gets a ground and pound TKO. Yeah, I'm going Gregory Rodriguez second round TKO. This is the pick. I'm not going to put it as confident because Rodriguez does have chin issues himself, and Cannonier can hit pretty hard. But like at the same time, who's the last dude Cannonier put out? Like actually, like Derek Brunson or Jack Hermanson. Like those are the last guys he's put out cold. Derek Brunson was in like 2022, and Jack Hermanson was in 2019. He hasn't had a finish in 3 years, and since that Derek Brunson fight, he's had 5 fights, 5 fights to get a KO win, and he just hasn't been able to do it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. He's also 40. I don't know how I didn't mention that earlier, but he's 40 years of age. So I know Gregory Rodriguez looks like he's old as hell. He looks like Obama. He looks like he's 42, but he's only like 32 or 33. So yeah, man, he's dangerous. He's young, and I think Gregory Rodriguez is also really underrated. He's one of my favorite prospects at middleweight. He's one of the best unranked guys in that division, and I think he's gonna put on a show and knock out Jared Cannonier. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Those are my UFC Fight Night Cannonier versus Rodriguez picks, and I hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in the next video. Peace.